Hello everyone, Russell Wright from networkempire.com, and I'd like to thank you for making it to this members-only webinar. And Sue Bell is also with us today, and we are going to discuss one of the most, well, let's just say it's a frequently asked question, would be an understatement, and that is how to deal with, think about, and technically integrate the idea of your website versus your blog, if you have that, if you have two separate setups. And we're going to talk about a few different configurations, I'm sure. Sue will get into that. Some of the biggest questions that we have are, how should I think about my blog if I've got a WR1 or a primary web ring website that's either an HTML site or maybe even another blog, or versus your blog feed and or magazine style blog. So we're going to jump into all that. We're going to talk about it in terms of SEO and a few other things, right, Sue?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I know I have thousands of questions. If I can just
yes, and I also want to add. Hi, Deb. It's so good to see you as well. Okay. Yeah, we have a few more questions coming in, anyways.
Good.
So if any of you have questions about this specific topic or even comments, please do put them in here. I am manning the question desk, and I'll go ahead and try to delegate those to Sue. And with no further ado, I'll just step out of the way, and I guess we can jump right in. And if you don't have a place to start, Sue, I can just start in with questions. So you just let me know what you need.
Yeah. So I shot you those questions from the mailbag too.
Yes, I have those as well.
Okay, good. Just make sure that I answer everything.
Okay, I'll set that up here to make sure that we cover all those.
Okay, so let me set the stage. I've had this question 3 times so far this week. Folks are oftentimes using the WordPress platform for both their site and their blog. And they're using our plugin for both of these. And so then they get everything set up and they're like, okay, now what? Like how exactly does this work? So I'm going to try to demonstrate this with this area over here being the website and this area over here being the blog, and the idea that they're mirrored, right? So silo 1 over here is going to be the same theme as silo 1 over here, silo 2, and so on, so that the keywords are mirrored on both sites. Now the first question is, should the titles be different? And yes, the titles should be different. And the first thing that I really want to get into is why we set the blog structure up the way we did in the Silo plugin. And that is, I have a dickens of a time trying to get a category page to rank. The last person I was talking to had problems actually understanding what a category page is, so let me just pull over a browser page, because we talk about categories in Domain Web Studio, and there's categories in blogs, and all of a sudden the categories just get really confusing, right? So
we need to define our terms. Yeah.
Exactly. If I go to Theme Zoom, just as for instance, and I go to just the first blog post on the blog, and we come down here. This is actually in 2 different categories, okay? One category is Theme Zoom General, and one category is Video. Now, we have our categories set up a little bit differently in that normally when you hit a category page, it's going to have your domain name, and then it's going to say /category, and then your category name. So this was one of the first blogs that I played around with in the very early days, trying to make a silo out of it. This was before our Silo plugin. So I was getting rid of that category idea, and I'm trying to make a page here out of my category page, because it's got all this really great content on it, and it's completely unique compared to all of the other pages on the site. And these pages, they just don't want to rank. I can throw inbound links at them. I can spiff them up with additional content. Some themes you can put additional content up here. I've tried everything, and it's dog. And they rank very poorly. It's not that they don't rank, but they rank very poorly. However, when I make a static page, all these up here are static pages. So if I go to Theme Zoom TV, this page is going to rank gangbusters. I have absolutely no problem getting a static page. Well, maybe this one doesn't have really any content, but you get my drift, right? So static pages I was having great luck with. Category pages I wasn't having any luck with. So in our Silo plugin, we took all of your main categories, all of your, we took your Silo pages and we took the category level and we made those static pages so that they would rank really well. Now, it's still a blog, right? So when you're looking at this as a blog and it's supporting a website, on the main page, I would have a blog role. I would want it to be interactive and gooey and fun and friendly, right? Over here on your website, I would have your main page be a static page, and that's going to be the major content, you know, just like your homepage in any normal website. It's going to have static content about whatever your website is about. So that's one of the main differences. You can use the blog plugin for both of those, and you can set them both up in each of those respective ways. Now, there's no right or wrong here. It's totally your preference, but this is just me, my experience, and what I think a blog is for. So for me, a blog is, it's like a newspaper, a magazine, right? It's like what's new, what's newsy, what's going on with the company or with my business. And so that's why I set up a blog role on the homepage. And then let's just, let me come back here for a second. Let's find a,
Everybody has a general idea, I'm sure, on the call that one of the advantages of blogs are the RCP. Is that what it is, Sue? RCP? The RSS. Yeah, the Atom.
RSS.
And that's kind of an interesting thing because, you know, a lot of people, especially beginners, I know you guys aren't, they don't really know that one of the advantages of blog is that it's kind of plugged into, you know, an XML control panel, basically, that allows you to ping and get stuff out there quickly.
Right. I mean, the advantage of having any kind of a content management system, a CMS, is that you can do all kinds of things easily. So one is it can create your RSS feed every time you post a new article, every time you add a new video, every time you add a new image. All of those RSS feeds can be updated automatically, as well as your sitemap gets updated automatically, all that kind of good stuff. If you're having to do this in HTML, then you're going in and adding all those things and creating all that stuff every time you add a page. And it's still doable, but it's more work. So, oh, I lost my train of thought. Shoot. All right, it'll come back to me.
Well, you're giving an example of
yeah, but
Northern Express blog.
I don't remember why. It's okay. So, so we made static pages out of here. And, oh, okay. All right. So, so these are their topics. One thing you want to think about is just because you go 3 or 4 layers deep over here doesn't mean you have to go 3 or 4 layers deep in your blog. The cool thing about a blog is because it's a newspaper, you can just go silo level deep, which is what we did at the moment, at least with Northline Express. We've just, these are the silos that they're currently talking about, so we didn't add the summer silos yet. We've just got the winter silos in there, and we've only gone that 1 level deep. We don't have their subcategories. They've got like 4, 5, 6 levels deep on their website because they're a really huge product-oriented e-commerce site. And but the keywords that we're really targeting are all in the first and second echelon. So at the moment we've just gone with the first one, and then if you click into like chimney products, and the reason we've done this is simply because they don't have a lot of content yet either. So if we started making all these categories and subcategories, you'd have like a blog post on this page and 2 blog posts on that page and a blog post over there. Whereas now you look here and they've got several blog posts in each one of these categories, so it just makes the blog look like there's a lot more happening just because it's not spread out over a lot of areas. So again, the cool thing with the plugin is you can start at the silo level. You can go in and you can say, hey, I want to build out the blog with just the silos at the moment, and then you can come back 6 months from now and you can add all the subcategories. So it's not like you have to set the whole thing up, or you can just come in now and you can add 3 silos and you can come back later and add 5 more. It's not like the whole blog has to be built out right now, boom. So the other thing we did was past the category level, we decided that everything ought to be posts. So you've got the home page or the blog roll page, you've got your silo pages, optionally you can have your category level pages, and then everything after that is just going to be an article by default. And the reason why we did that, you can go in WordPress, you can go down another level or several more levels if you want to get carried away with the categories, but again, we're trying to focus on the keywords that you're really trying to rank for. Like, what are the really important topics? And so as we looked together, as we were contemplating how we wanted to build out the plugin, and we looked at it, we were like, pretty much by the time you get down here to the 4th level, you're into long tails that can rank with a blog post. And you're trying to support these, typically they're products over here, when you're down at a 4th level. Otherwise you got like a really broad site and you're down into, either way, you're down into some pretty good sized long tails by the time you get down to this 4th level. So it just seemed like the thing to do was to make it, to make them blog posts rather than to make them static pages. Now, the interesting thing, and the thing that throws everybody for a loop, is because it's a blog, you can actually add a blog post as a silo, right under the silo. So for instance, here, obviously all he's got are silos. Let me think of a site that's got the next level down too. Do we have one? Shoot. One isn't coming immediately to mind, but I can show you on Theme-Zoom. Just a second, let me log in. All right, so if I come here to, let's just say adding a new post. And I come down here, obviously, okay, analytics has got analytics is a category, it's got a subcategory of competitive analysis, and I could add a blog post and I could check it as being analytics, or I could check it as being competitive analysis, or I can even have it in both categories. And in that case, I actually don't recommend choosing more than one category, but in that case, it would have one URL string that was /analytics/ whatever your blog post is, and then another one that was /analytics/ competitive analysis/ whatever your blog post is. So the idea that we had with this, with the blog half of the Silo plugin, is that if you want to, you can put in your static page content into Domain Web Studio and populate your blog. Totally optional. But I wouldn't bother to put your blog posts in there. Like the whole idea of blog posts is that they're, as I've been saying, they're like a newspaper, right? They're timely, and they're only valid for a particular period of time, which is the other reason why you get static pages. Static pages are much more evergreen. So then as you go to put in your blog posts, you're going to want to actually post those live, and you ought to post at least a couple times a week. It kind of depends on how competitive your market is, what your competitors are doing, how often you want to post, what your business is like, and what you're actually able to do factors into that as well. But I would say you want to post at least a couple times a week, because you got to remember that your blog post, if you have everything set up the way that we're we're talking about inside the members area, your blog post actually pushes out to everything else. Like it's the main source of all of the curated content that happens afterwards on Storify and Scoop It and into your Twitter account and your Facebook and all of those wonderful places. So like, it's half, 3/4 done with RSS feeds, and the other part you just post by hand. But all of that is generated every time you post a blog post. So you want to do that at least a couple times a week. So that's the other reason why it's sometimes worthwhile to just cut your blog off at the silo level and just post posts underneath that. Do you have something you want to add to that?
No, I was just looking at some questions. Brian's asking the permalink structure. Permalink structure is still a category post name, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Brian, that would be % category % /
Yeah.
% post name % closed caption. Brian is asking, Brian K, does this mean if you only have a 3-level blueprint, website silo categories, silos should be blog pages and the theme categories should be blog posts?
Let me look at this again. The silos should be pages and the theme categories should be posts. You can do it whichever way you want. You can add a post in underneath your silo, and you can add a post in underneath the static page on your category, or this level can just be all posts and only your silo level are static pages. And the way that you decide which you want to do is how badly do you want to rank for your category level pages.
Right, exactly.
If your silo pages are more like placeholders, they're broad topics, they're things that you want to back yourself into in the marketplace, and your category keywords are the ones that you really want to rank for, like that those are your juicy keywords, then make those static pages so that you know you rank for them.
Yeah, and I have had questions come up. I don't think I've talked to you much about this, Sue, but you can definitely, jump in here if you have a comment or clarification.
Okay.
There's themes like, like thesis, that because it's not really based on silo knowledge, or it's based on a partial knowledge of siloing, where you can actually write content on the category page.
Right.
So you could actually create your kind of landing page there.
Yep.
On that. There are some challenges with that, but thesis is the only one. There's other themes that allow you to connect your post pages just on a drop down inside the theme. Themify is a big one that does that. So I'm pointing this out only because there are a lot of different variables that that Sue and I get approached with about how to create a silo structure with blogs, and Sue will be announcing, we've got a new course in the members area. We also published yesterday where we're talking about some of the free plugins and ways you can use that. Do you have any opinion about using the category page, like thesis?
Even when I do that, I still can't get those category pages to rank very well.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done any really serious testing. You have to fill me in on that when I come to town.
Yeah.
So I wasn't unaware of.
I've been trying to do it for the last year. I've got 2 different themes, and I've got categories on the content pages, and I've just
doesn't want to rank.
Never been able to get it to rank for any significant keywords.
Huh. Even when you have the category definition filled out and all that?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, that leads me to believe. I have seen similar things, just not as hard of a case study as Sue's, where it's just so much easier to get pages ranked. Why mess with it? Even though we can't tell you guys exactly why, the reason is we don't need to know. It's just don't do it. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah, I've looked at the I've taken a light look at the HTML that's, or the source code that's on both of those pages, the category page versus the static page, and I don't see any reason why the category page shouldn't rank. So the only thing I can think of is that Google's got it set so that they just, they tone those pages down a little bit.
Deprecation of that particular layer.
Yeah, I can imagine that they probably are very keyword rich, and so otherwise, the same problem you got with PDFs. PDFs, by their very nature, have all of the qualities that would make for something to completely outrank HTML pages.
Right.
And so they have to lower the quality score if the page type as a PDF so that PDFs aren't the
Right.
things that float all the way to the top. So
Have
I'm
you
kind
noticed?
of,
Have you noticed PDFs just ranking lower than usual this year? I have.
I haven't
It
paid any
seems.
attention actually.
Okay. But anyway, okay. So what you're saying, the bottom line is that you think there's a high possibility, in your expert opinion, that there's some deprecation of the category pages in blogs, and so we might just want to watch out for that.
Right.
That probably speaks to Brian's question, but Sue, Brian is asking, Brian M. What is your opinion on writing static PHP pages for the category to avoid duplicate content issues?
Static PHP pages. Well, that's basically what I'm talking about. They're not necessarily PHP pages, but
I mean, a category is a static PHP page.
well, the categories aren't static pages. Categories are created on the fly based on the. I think you're talking blog categories. I'm not quite sure, but I'm imagining that's what you're talking about. And
What do you mean by static PHP, Brian? Because a whole blog is PHP. Writing the content. Oh, you mean writing the content in the
actual PHP. So creating a PHP page that basically takes precedence over the blog category page.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You can do that. I think it's more complicated than it's worth. When you can create a static page just right inside the blog, and let me just come over here and show you what I mean by a static page, because maybe there's, here's where you create posts, right? And down here is where you create pages. And when you add a new page, that's a static page, in that it's not one that's, all the pages in a blog technically are created on the fly because it's a CMS, but it's a static page in that it's not a compendium or a collection of other content the way the category pages are.
Yeah, and I would also add to what Sue's saying, Brian, and to anyone else here, I don't know what it is about website style architecture, and we're getting better and better at explaining it, but there's like just an amazing tendency for everybody to make it like 1,000 times more complicated than it is.
It needs to be.
The bottom line is you start with a category, you build a page, and then you add posts. And then you make sure that the internal linking structure is at least close to siloing, preferably precise, like Sue likes it precise. And of course, the silo blogbuilder.com plugin we have will allow that. And then the new course will show you how to do it if you want to do it without having Domain Web Studio. But there's a lot of themes that you can pretty much pseudo silo. It's not perfect. It's not as good as the plugin, or is it as good as the plugin that Sue is currently building to update the one that we have. But once you understand the basic theory, you want to start publishing a lot of stuff rather than getting all wrapped around the axle as to whether it's like, if it's easy for you to publish in I guess, Brian, the thing I'm starting to think about is like, are you going to constantly be creating PHP pages for, just think about how much extra work that's going to be.
Yeah, and then you have to go back to the sitemap. You have to figure out a way to include it in your sitemap, which is the nature of the blog is that it's constantly overriding that sitemap, and so and including just the content that it knows should be there. So like when you start combining two different things together like that, that gets to be.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Brian. I appreciate you adding. The other thing I wanted to throw in here, Sue, because I know this is crazy, but I had a student I was talking to the other day. They thought because they had the Atom, turned on in the blog, that they didn't have to submit a sitemap. Somehow because something says XML in it, they think they're covered.
Right.
It would be good if you could cover the difference between the native or indigenous, XML inside the blog versus actually submitting it to Google Webmaster Tools or wherever.
Okay.
As far as a sitemap.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. So the next logical progression in the set of questions is, how do I link from my blog back to my site? So let's just take a look here for a second. Let's say that everything above the line here are all static pages, and I've got a blog post that hangs off of here. So this blog post hanging off of this category is basically, it's got the same keyword as this article over here. So obviously it can link to that article over there because they're thematically related. Now if you want to, if you mention it and you want to, you can also link to either the category page or you can link to the silo page, right? Because all of these things, they're all in the same theme, right? Just got to excuse my pathetic drawing, I'm sorry. So
what?
Exactly. So so the thing that I do want to say is you probably don't want more than a couple of links from any one blog post to your pages over here. The idea behind all of this is that, you know, your posts, they come and go, and they've got some page rank. They have, while they're on the blog roll on your homepage, they're going to have the most amount of page rank. So let's say that you've got 10 posts posted on your homepage. As soon as they roll off that, their page rank is going to diminish to whatever page rank they inherit from the category page. And when they eventually roll off the category page, then they're going to have probably not a whole lot of page rank. So while they're hot topics on your homepage and on the category page, you want to send as much link juice as possible to the appropriate pages over here. The other thing you're going to think about is if you're curating that content, you're picking that content up and you're sticking it on Storify and you're sticking it on Scoop.it, as those platforms start to acquire page rank, that will be more permanent page rank, and those links will also point back over here to your website. So, so it's not just like, oh, this is so futile, I'm writing a blog post, and in 30 or 60 days it's going to fall off all of my static pages, and then what have I done? No, it's still going to be out there. It's still going to be pushing page rank to your stuff. It also goes out on your RSS feed, and your RSS, your one feed, will actually push some page rank and some rank juice, if not page rank, back to that page. So there's still some stuff going on, but it's at its most viral for that first 30 days that it's out there. So you don't want to like water down the strength that this post has by linking to too many pages on your website. So a good rule of thumb in my book is 2 links back, and I'm quite okay if there's only 1 link back. Like if you've got a really clear call to action, you want these people to actually buy the product that's down here on this article page, just link to that.
What? Buy a product? I thought we were just building blogs because it was so complicated.
Exactly.
The form of personal mastery didn't know it was about selling anything.
Exactly. If you can make your blog post first thing in the morning every morning, then yes.
Continue. That's just good.
So, okay. So now let's have the second scenario. Let me just erase that line for a second so we don't get too cluttered here. Now you got a blog post that's hanging here off of your silo because your silo is a hot topic in the news this week, and so you're going to capture that energy. You're going to write a blog post about it.
Story flipping.
Exactly.
We call that story flipping in the one feed to rule them all system and the one web ring system.
And you're going to link that back up here to your silo landing page, right? Because these guys are related. And optionally, if this is, no, I take that back. It's on the category level, but it's actually, so what this is probably going to be, it's going to be, the keyword that's in your headline here is going to be either your silo parent theme or one of the synonyms. Your supporting keywords are probably these keywords down here. And so if it's a supporting keyword, then you would hang it off of that category. Do I need to stick keywords in there? Is this getting confusing?
Is everybody following? Just chime in here. Yes? Okay.
Okay, so if this, give me a silo.
Okay, content curation.
Okay, so let's say that content curation is your silo.
From the blog.
Yeah, it's also the keyword, the primary keyword over here on your website. And so you're going to write a blog post about content curation because that's what's hot in the news right now. And so because that's your primary theme, the page that matches on your website is what you're going to link back to. And if repurposed content curation is your category, and that's what you're writing the blog post about, then you're going to link back to the repurposed content curation page over here. Or alternatively, you could link back to content curation because that's related.
Right. So everybody followed that pretty clearly within your own scenario? Is that what many of you are doing? Yes? Okay. Good.
Cool. All right. Did I answer all of the questions presented in that email at this juncture?
Okay, let me just go back and look at that real quick. Okay, so the main question is, let's see. When you talk about getting the most mileage out of the blog, you mentioned to mirror the themes on the website and the blog. Both should have the same silos and become categories in the blog. Okay, so that's theme mirroring. So assuming he expands this idea, and he says, so assuming we are using the same WP installation for both the website and blog,
yeah.
The questions are, same website, okay, same installation, yeah. Let's say I have 5 silos and each have 5 articles, no supported keywords to keep it simple. Now, assuming I upload to the blog the DWS XML raw file, no content, just the keywords.
Okay.
So now I have 5 new categories, each with 5 children articles, right?
Yeah.
And then all are going to be created with blog pages. All those are part of the website, right?
Yep. So we've got this level here, and we've got this level here, and all those are going to be static pages.
All right. And the plugin, our plugin, does that, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. And there's some more. I can continue if you want. There's
Yep.
a couple more things.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we got that covered. Anybody chime in with questions? Go ahead, because I know this is the place to do it. Another question is, do I need to also create 5 additional identical categories that will only be used to attach theme-relevant blog posts? If so, do I need to create a blog main category that the duplicate blog categories will reside under? Or just create additional or duplicate blog categories and only match blog posts to them? I guess he's asking more from a DWS perspective. The answer to that question you've already covered, really.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions on that particular thing? Because really it's straightforward. You're matching the silo landing pages to the silo blog pages.
Yep.
Okay. If you guys have any questions about, I don't know how many of you on the call are using the Silo Blog Builder. If you have any questions, Kevin, I can help you out on the help desk if it's specific to if you have a problem with the upload. Number 3, Sue, is the other option would be to use the blueprint or the original categories and attach the relevant or themed blog post keywords to them, but doesn't that doesn't make a lot of, no,
yeah.
And you're right. So he's right. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, which covers the entire question, assuming once again that we are using the same install for both website and blog, do you recommend the category website to display the website side and the DWS plugin silo widget for the blog side, or vice versa? Which way would you go?
I don't actually use the category widget in either case because I'm doing static pages, and the static pages and the categories are what we talked about at the beginning. The categories don't rank well, and so I don't bother to promote those category pages with the category widget. I promote the static pages with a menu.
Okay, and that makes sense to me. Also, Ruben is making a suggestion here, and I want to also point out, Ruben, that your suggestion should be true by default. And he's saying that site with main keyword and blog with matching LSI for each category.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just trying to, yeah, absolutely. And we're also keeping it really we're trying to give everybody a basic 1-to-1 ratio here as well, so they can just see the general overriding theme. I personally like to do 2 separate installs of WordPress for my blog and my website, and I like them to be on 2 separate IPs. Because as you guys will learn at the certification event, especially when Sue starts waxing poetic about thousands of unique IP addresses, different things, for me, I like to start small, and I like to start at the beginning doing that. And it's always proven a little bit beneficial, actually quite a bit beneficial, to be able to do that. At least appears that way for me. But there are also many cases where I do put them on the same install as well, and a lot of that depends on the branding functionality that the client already has in place. A lot of the time you can't, if you have clients, I know some of your are agencies, if you have clients, you can't really necessarily tell your client to start over. Sometimes they're not going to be very receptive to that.
I tend to use 2 different installs just because oftentimes I let my outsourcers have access to my blog, and I don't necessarily want them to have access to my money site.
Precisely.
So,
there's so many reasons, folks, why it makes sense to quarantine your baskets of risk here.
But the one thing that I will say, what you said a second ago about the separate IPs, that's not as useful as it used to be, because when you're looking at your blog here, you're going to have pretty much every single page on your blog pointing back to your site, and Google's kind of hip to the fact that that makes these 2 sites related. And so even if they're on separate IPs, it's going to strongly discount the links that are on your blog. So for your primary blog, you don't need to go to that extra expense of having a separate IP, but for all of your other blogs, all your other non-branded blogs, you definitely want to go.
And there's even evidence that, you get more page rank across your entire domain faster if you have the blog on the sales page. There's several other reasons why I do that, and whether it's a new IP address or not, or that's not. Right. I agree with Sue, and I'm just saying, like, if it's easy, throw it in there. But then again, that might not even necessarily be the best way to do it. I mean, I have noticed when you're driving a lot of traffic to a domain with a blog on it, you can tend to get page rank site-wide even faster. So that is one aspect of it. I was specifically coming from some of the video stuff that I do, which I've noticed really how it is useful to have it on the secondary domain.
Right.
So I'm talking more on the WR2 stuff. So that's a good point. I take back what I said. Putting it on the same blog, putting it on the same domain can be really helpful for your average kind of setup. Ruben's also asking, will Google catch you with your Google Plus page?
I think what he's implying there is if you're adding your domains onto your Google Plus account, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what he's asking.
Then, Google's pretty wary of what you say you're associated with. Google's got its act together when it comes to G+. We've been playing and testing, and
my philosophy after testing is not, and I'm in the really remedial stages of it. I haven't seen any, I just, like, generally speaking, it's good to keep your WR2 web ring separate, as a separate layer with your persona and your WR1. But again, you're talking about what Sue's laying out here is pretty much your WR1 stuff.
Yeah, this is all WR1.
The branded blog and the branded site. I have no problem telling Google that I have the blog on my G Plus phase, and I have no problem telling that I have the sales page. I want to tell them that.
Yeah.
And I also create a Google Author Markups tag associated with my name. On all of my blogs, and that gets me ranked as the circles begin to build on Google+. You'll see that you start getting traffic from your author tags as your outsourced team, or as you start following more people with your Google+ account. You'll see that you're ranked more on the personalized results. Now, not everybody has their Google settings default to personalized results. We have to acknowledge that as well. But I do notice a little bit of traffic in Google Analytics on the social section on your Google Analytics when I do that. Also, I just like having a centralized area for the WR1 area place where I can start telling Google which sites I'm willing to cop to.
Right.
And then with the WR2 personalities, sometimes I have hundreds of them. hundreds of WR2 Google accounts associated with blogs, and that's what we work with, then you're going to want to separate those out, and those personas, whether they're artificial or actual, will need to be copying to the blogs that they represent as a persona, because we automate those blogs through RSS and Twitter accounts. And you can come to certification and have your mind completely blown about how much traffic you can generate using those methods. And even when we're talking about the WR2, we really, like a lot of the WR2 stuff I do would not meet Sue's standard and like hardcore websites I architecture. And she might chide me about some of it, but it's good enough for automated work.
Yeah.
But with your WR1 stuff, you guys really, gosh, the advantage is so huge, especially when you start theme mirroring your WR2 blogs, and Sue talks about it, their certification, Joomla and Drupal and different thing. When you start mirroring downstream, pointing back upstream to these themes as well, any work you've done to properly theme your blog upstream just really pays off. You're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So that's good. That's good input, Ruben. Ruben, are you coming to the live certification event? If not, why not? No, not this year. Okay. All right.
All right. So
I think that's pretty good. Is there any additional point? Go ahead, Sue.
You wanted me to touch on.
Well, let's talk about. I hope this is not.
Webmaster Tools.
Okay, you can't. That's too bad. We're going to have after this event, Ruben, we're going to have the advanced course available online in a university style. It's not as good as coming to a live event, but it will be the most advanced material that we have. So, we can talk about that at some point. Yeah, Sue, the question that comes up, I don't know why. I'm surprised that somehow people think that in the native Atom RSS is somehow all they need in rendering the Webmaster Tools obsolete. Like I never even thought that would be a question for people, but maybe you can enlighten us on the difference between the two.
Okay, so the RSS file that gets created, there's oh, come on. I don't know why this wants to do that from time to time. That doesn't have a sitemap. I gotta do themes in. All right. So that's a sitemap that gets automatically created by WordPress. And it looks different in different browsers and blah, blah, blah. And so sitemap.xml is the default location where most and reasonably intelligent search engines will go and look for your sitemap. If you want to actually specify the sitemap in, gosh, is it in robots file or .htaccess? I think it's in robots. You can tell it the specific location of the sitemap. But I never leave it to chance, which is why I don't know whether it's in htaccess or it's got to be actually in robots. It doesn't make any sense to put it in htaccess. I just always log into Webmaster Tools, and I mean I want to define my sites anyway, and then I add the sitemap. I add that URL to right in there, just sitemap.xml, and then it'll go out usually within 24 hours. It'll go out. It'll read the file immediately. It'll tell you whether or not there are errors. Well, immediately within an hour, it'll tell you whether or not there are errors, and then it'll normally go out and process the entire site within 48 hours, definitely within 72 hours. And then it'll come back here and it'll tell you how many were submitted and how many were indexed. You can see that, like, nothing here is indexed. This is a pathetic site that I inherited that's been blacklisted almost a year ago. And I have not been successful in being able to get it unblacklisted.
All that cloaking, huh? Just
yeah, I didn't actually blacklist it. I inherited it that way. But But normally it'll come back and it'll tell you within a page or two, within probably more like 1%. I've actually not really ever seen any site that was indexed 100%. There's always a few pages that it decides to not index for whatever reason. Usually it's a duplicate content issue, or it's not being able to crawl a page or something along those lines. If you can figure out why, like sometimes those are some important reasons why it doesn't index a page, but it's not really nice. It doesn't like come back here and say, hey, these pages weren't indexed for this particular reason, so you kind of got to dig. And that's a whole other call. I don't have time to get into that today, but I'm happy to if somebody wants to raise that question.
Well, I do want to toot the certification horn again. Again, guys, these are the things that we cover at our events, and we're going to be covering. We do have a live launch probably 30 to 60 days after the upcoming events, probably. I'm not going to set a date, where some of the content from the advanced certification course like this will be in the members area for a higher upgrade price. But literally, Sue and I could speak for like 3 to 5 hours straight on just sitemap and Google Analytics and alone.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about it at the event. So hopefully that clears up. I just wanted to toss it out there because I was surprised that someone would think that XML, the atom ping is the same as a sitemap. And I think there's a lot of confusion. I don't think a lot of people really necessarily know what XML is about. I know you guys probably do on this call. So is there any other questions for Sue while you have her? Because she's going to be out of pocket here for the next several weeks in a live event. So ask now. Ask everything you ever wanted to know about DWS, Theme Zoom, Kraken, and we're afraid to ask. If you've got the gumption, toss a link up here. I think we've been on the call for...
We got about 10 more minutes.
We have about 10 minutes, so I dare you to throw out a question that is daunting and difficult. Okay. All right, here's one. When is the complete Network Empire application going to be complete?
Yesterday.
Okay, excellent. Okay, here's another one. Oh, interesting. Okay, how to overcome a not indexed page. I don't understand that one, Ruben. I'm sorry. What if you're using a theme where the plugin has to go into a widget? That's a good question.
Where the plugin has to go into a widget.
Well,
I don't know. Like, that would depend. That might not work. If you've got that kind of a scenario, here, let me show you the solution to that scenario. We just posted this a couple of days ago. Right here, silo structure blog using free plugins. And this is a series of videos that will show you how you can use free plugins to set up a silo structure. And I think that if you're having problems where you have to do something fancy like that, Deb, your best bet is going to be to experiment with some of those plugins, because my bet is our plugin is going to break inside of a widget. It's just not a terribly forgiving plugin. The next question, Brian is asking, will you be creating a silo builder for Yoast? Yes, we're actually rewriting the entire silo plugin. I can't give you an ETA on it yet, but then it's going to interface with Yoast. Is there a way to automate the cross-linking between the blog and the main site? Well, there is, but you have to buy a network. If you're doing the blog posts by hand, then you're going to want to do those links by hand, obviously. Technically speaking, there would be a way to know what the appropriate page is on your website, but we don't have a piece of software that does that on the money side yet. We've got
Katerina's going to be at the
She
event.
is, yeah.
Okay, well,
And
Katerina,
so
we're going to talk to you about some stuff that we can't really talk about on the call.
yeah, you'll
There
be
are
happy.
things we do have done for you. Empire networks. We'll be selling those, and the cool thing is those of you who are certified, and Brian, that includes you, are able to resell these networks
Yeah.
And we're gonna have our prices roughly etched out by the time you come to the third certification event. So imagine being able just to say, to heck with it, done for you, sign here, boom, we'll
Yeah.
take care of it for you. Because it's been pretty sophisticated for us to teach people outside of certification how to build this. And so that's the advantage of coming to the event. But also, you know, if you have an interest in selling networks and being able to connect, do theme mirroring across all the different layers, that's pretty exciting stuff. Sue has completely blown my mind the last few days with all the numbers connections she's making to the different rings. So, hi Stephen, it's good to see you. Let me just answer Stephen's question real quick, Sue.
Sure.
Stephen is saying, do you guys have any Google Hangouts on the air live streaming during the live certification event? Yeah, thanks for the offering. That's really a great idea, and absolutely not, because the material inside the certification event is too valuable to do a live stream. However, as you know, the personal brand broadcasting method, believe it or not, Google Hangouts is not really robust yet. It's still, I've made 3 Google Hangout attempts in other businesses for clients before I have talked to Sue about bringing it over to us. There's a couple of things that they're going to need to add for us, and that's going to be picture-in-picture as well as a etchboard or whiteboard function, which they have one, I know. I'm not real happy with it yet, so we're waiting for the next release on that. And we might do some Hangouts, but GoToMeeting is so superior in its format. And I can talk to you about this some other time, Stephen. The idea of a bunch of people kind of hanging out is a very what you call casual environment, and it's not that professional. And there's some neuromarketing implications that I've been testing based on that. What it's really good for is social causes. That's really good for network marketing if you're a team leader, none of which we are with our company now. So I really appreciate the idea, and I'll talk to you more about that. As far as opportunities for certified members, we're not ready to discuss that yet, but what I'm talking to Sue about right now is that because the commissions are substantially high on selling a network, I want certified, we're thinking about limiting that to certified members for the most part, because we want you to understand how to properly sell them and have an understanding of that. Now, I can't confirm that, and Sue, feel free to jump in, but that's what we're kind of looking at.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. It also takes a bit of finesse in terms of the setup right now, just because it's in beta. There's everything's automated once you get the whole blueprint set up, but there's some additional aspects that you have to add. And just in talking to some of the guys that were coming to certification, I started to realize it's these guys that have been in that extra level of training that have the additional appreciation of all the nuances that go on when you're talking about silo structures. And obviously when we take this out, 3 layers, you're magnifying it. And,
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so it's not something that's going to be documented well enough to be put in the hands of everybody for a little while yet. I'd say probably at least this entire year it's going to be for certified members only.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then Brian's, I don't know if I want to address Brian K's.
But Brian, thanks for mentioning that. I will check with Matt. He'll be here in a couple of days, and I'll make sure that that's resolved. If you would put in a help desk request on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, Brian, we'll give you extra kudos if you put in help desk request for that. Thank you so much. Katerina, I hope that I answered your question, is that there's an incredible system and application of things being put together that does exactly what you're requesting, but we're not at liberty to talk about it on this call. So I think that's pretty much all the questions. It's about 2 minutes to the hour. I think we've covered a lot of things. I hope all of you are really beginning to see the light when it comes to ground zero, and we've talked about how to silo a theme mirrored blog to WR1 Money site. There's a couple different methods. Hopefully we covered some of the technical confusion and made them really simple. Ground zero content is the content that is really the best content that's going to syndicate downstream and be repurposed in your WRS1, your WR2, WRS2, and then your WR3, in which you continue to take this holographic process and theme mirror your primary, what Sue calls epic keywords, all the way back upstream. So it's really rinse and repeat. I mean, you do it between your blog, your primary blog, your branded blog, and your branded site, and then you just kind of do that stuff all the way down. You're going to do really similar things with the other amazing rings, like the WR2 ring, as you begin to expand. And I think probably the biggest challenge for a lot of our students is tending to expand too quickly without understanding what they've done in the original holographic piece at ground zero, or the center. So make sure that you really have these things clearly set up, and and you really understand what you're doing, because it actually gets easier as you begin to build outward and expand. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. That question doesn't need to be public either, does it, Sue?
No, I don't think so. If you've got more questions on that, Deb, just shoot me an email.
Excellent. All right. It's at the hour. We need to start getting ready. I'm leaving to head into Phoenix here in just a couple of days, so I need to quick like a bunny get some of this stuff wrapped up. So we're just going to go ahead and close this webinar down. Look forward to seeing all of you on the inside of the members area. And you have anything to add, Steve?
Yes, next month we're going to have to move this webinar. We'll probably make it the second Tuesday. We've got a couple of guys coming in. They couldn't make it to the regular webinar, so they're going to come in a couple of weeks later. And I just realized today that it's going to get in the way of that first Tuesday. So, all right. I think that's everything. Sorry, Richard. Yeah, we'll get you.
We will post. Yeah, Richard, we'll stick the webinar replay up probably for the next 24 hours, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you know where to get that, Richard, in the members area, right? Just go to. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks,
and
everybody.
Here's to your empire, expanding infinitely in all directions. Russell Wright and Sue Bell signing off.
Bye, guys. Thanks.